Hello and welcome to the Two Robbies podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League and the Champions League. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earle, and here are today's topics. Manchester City's dominant performance over Real Madrid, but will Pep's men be disappointed with the 4-3 scoreline before they head back to the Bernabeu? Liverpool win 2-0 over Villarreal and Jurgen Klopp extends his contract until 2026. And Manchester United and Chelsea play out a 1-1 draw at Old Trafford. That's what we've got coming up in today's episode.
And just before we get down to the nitty-gritty of the football, mate, we're just going to make sure that all our listeners and viewers make the NBC Sports Predicted part of their match week routine. Play Premier League Pick'em for free for your chance at $50,000 jackpot. Predict the outcomes of Premier League matches correctly and the jackpot is yours. Score big when you download the NBC Sports Predictor app today. Right, my friend, we had a absolutely stunning week of football across the Premier League and the Champions League. There is really only one place to start. The Etihad on Tuesday night with, I just thought was a fabulous, fabulous game of football. I actually put a tweet out, Rob, where I just put, Manchester City, Real Madrid, thank you. It was like one of those where, I don't know, my wife, she, is a chocolate lover, and some people love wine. I mean, that was a football fest for people like us who just want to have the game. I mean, some of the football, some of the drama, some of the skills, it was top-end stuff and just a joy to watch. Having said that, a joy to watch, Manchester City scoring 4 goals at home but conceding 3. What would be the overriding emotion for Pep, Rob, out of this after this game?
Well, it's really funny. I think Pep, by the way, the game is born out of philosophies of Real Madrid and Manchester City, two teams, unlike the game City had against Atletico Madrid, but very, very different. The philosophies of these two football clubs are to attack, to bring star players in that are capable of real attacking quality. And we saw that in this game in abundance. We didn't see a ton of defending. I think, and I'm with you, Rob. I enjoyed the game. It's great to get a matchup like that I think we realised is going to be super open, space everywhere. I mean, both teams could enjoy a little bit of possession, particularly in the second half when Real Madrid were, I thought, a little bit more in the game. First half, they were, I thought, outplayed for the most part. But going back to Pep, your question, he'll be disappointed, Rob, but it's kind of the way they are. They could have taken some earlier chances. I mean, the amount of chances they had, Rob, to score in the first half was an incredible amount of chances. Mahrez could have got another couple of goals. Phil Foden could have scored more goals. But what would have happened if they would have taken those chances? Well, they probably would have conceded again. I mean, it happened 3 times. Now, it's not even any point super analysing every single goal in this game. The overriding theme is, Rob, that it was a stunning game of football. I thought Manchester City looked such a better team than Real Madrid, yet with the two players that we know about, Vinicius Jr. and, of course, Karim Benzema now, who's having an incredible lease of life late in his career, it's never over. So much went on, Rob, but I just think that was that's City, isn't it? I think against the best teams, Rob, I'll let you come back in, against the best teams with the most quality, particularly in this competition, Man City give up chances. Now, I think with Cancelo and particularly Kyle Walker, it will be different if those two would have been fit for this game, and I think they might be fit for next week. But they kind of do in this competition, and it happened again. They got tons of attacking threat, but they leave spaces for teams to hurt them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting because Pep was asked after, and I think, people were trying to say you must be a bit disappointed. And it was almost like, to your point, that this is who we are, this is how we play, this is how I do it. And to a certain degree, it was almost like, if I win it playing this way, that's going to be me. And if I lose it playing this way, that's kind of going to be me. He can't really do it any way else. Or for him, it wouldn't be right doing it any other way. I have to give, and again, before we did the last podcast, I just said there's something about this Madrid team, and we've seen it now against Chelsea, we've seen it against City. Sheriff beat them in the group stages. This team almost shouldn't be where they are, shouldn't be just 1 goal down in a semi-final with a home game to come. But there's a huge credit, Rob, to this team who hang in there. As you talk about of a front two who are a real threat across Europe, Luka Modric can still influence a game in moments that changes things. And, they should have been dead and buried. They shouldn't have got to the semi-final. They did. They shouldn't have, they should have probably been outplayed. As you say, City did in the first half. They're still in it. Does that danger... That danger's real, Rob, in the second leg, isn't it? This is a tough game for City now to go to Madrid and dominate in the same way, I think.
Well, it is, Rob, right? And I'd love to sort of say that I think we just don't know what's going to happen. I tell you, it's really... this is the nature of a knockout game over 2 legs, right? Man City are a much better team than Real Madrid. Yeah. But who cares? Over 2 games, or in 1 game or in another game, they're 90-minute kind of slices in time. And with this competition, with these players, who knows? Yeah. If City, I sort of, in my notes, Rob, I've written down, a Man City at this point in this competition missing that clinical striker. But then I think, well, hang on a minute, they scored 4 goals. And they could have scored more. But they still conceded 3 goals. So... they can... the game might look pretty similar. I think City will dominate the ball in the Bernabeu. I think Real Madrid will be more reactive, will play on the counter a little bit more until they decide to open up. They opened up, Rob, second half. And like you said, it was they were okay to go toe-to-toe with Man City. Yeah. They were okay to go toe-to-toe, where you're watching the game and you're like, what City, what? They've got men over here. They just didn't score. Like, there was so many possibilities where they attacked. And not, it was 4. It could have been 8. Yeah. But then they might have conceded 5. Yeah. It was kind of a strange one to try and analyse. Going into the second leg, it's like, well, I think they're the better side. So I expect them to go through. They've got the goal lead. Yeah. But you never can tell. Kyle Walker, and I know he's not anywhere like creative and as technical as some of the other players. They need him against Vinicius Jr. They just do. And Fernandinho, when he came on, Rob... I don't think I tweeted, but I was thinking, this is a problem at right back with Vinicius Jr. pace against Fernandinho. Of course, he nicked the ball off him, crosses it for the headed goal, and then he tried to do the same thing and got caught out when Vinicius Jr. runs all the way through with incredible pace, and Laporte didn't come over and try and intercept him. So there's threats all around. It's going to be open again. I reiterate, I just feel like City look a slicker, look a more organised, look a more together side, but they attack, and they attack with numbers, and that leaves them vulnerable. Kyle Walker being fit is huge if he's going to be okay for the second leg.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt. Defensively, obviously against Vinicius, he would be so much better. It's just one of those. As I was watching the game, I was thinking they played so well in that first half. Some of the football was incredible. I was kind of thinking, does this feel like a missed opportunity? Does this feel like we should be more than 1 goal up, having played so well, having scored so many, having dominated periods of the game where, as you say, they opened them up. I know it got a little bit back and forth in the second half, but I think if I was a City player, having played so well, Rob, but only to be 1 goal advantage, it would be a bit of disappointment in my in the overall performance.
Yeah. It felt like Man City were at least 2 goals better than Real Madrid. That's what it felt like when you saw it. And even the commentator in the game, I think they went 3-1, was it, or 4-2? I don't know. 2 goals up. Yeah. And the commentator said, and there it is. Like, there's the lead that they deserve. And it's like, well, yeah. But then Laporte, he's got his arm in a unexpected position, really high, and they get a penalty. And Benzema steps up with the coolest penalty, the Panenka that you'd ever seen, and perfectly executed. Just another day, Rob. It could have been so different, but it wasn't. No, and we know this now from Pep's teams. Yeah. And it's like it's history repeating itself and conceding.
It's interesting though. You just made a thought, because Benzema is the difference for them in Real Madrid, and you're talking about a striker. It's like. In some respects, you want it all, don't you? You want City's football, and then you think Benzema's at the top end for City. It'd be done. They'd score 5 goals, and they wouldn't maybe concede. But as you said, listen, they'd probably concede 4 anyway. It's the way it's going to be.
Yeah,
and it's probably why with City, over 38 games, their quality is generally going to find out. In this competition, one bad 90 minutes, one bad 45 minutes in some respects, can totally change the outcome of games.
Yeah, absolutely it can. And, again, we can go through the players and stuff like that and some important performances. I thought Rodri was very good in that position. We're going to go on and speak about Liverpool, and their similar man also was outstanding in the game. I just think when you look at John Stones, came off injured, Rob, in the first half. He got a little bit of mounting injury problems that we hear is going to be eased. Cancelo and Walker are back next week. But that's the last thing now City, the City need is to get some more defensive players out injured. Zinchenko's a really good player, but there's no question. If you have Cancelo at left back, Kyle Walker at right back, it makes that defensive unit, both mostly without the ball with Walker, but also with the ball with Cancelo, it makes it even better going forward. So they really need those two players back.
Yeah, I thought a shout out to Kevin De Bruyne and Robbie, who in the first half was just like magnificent, just at another level with his passing and his running ability and just seeing opportunities. But the one I want to mention was Phil Foden, my friend, 21 years of age. I mean, sometimes I don't think we take in this. He's still a kid, still very young very early into his career. The level that he plays at, the important goals he scores or makes, the quality he gives to the football team. I mean, this could be a real star in the making. I think if it's interesting that I didn't realise Vinicius Jr. is only 21 years of age as well, and they both play in a very different way. Vinicius uses his pace and that direct running style that hurts you. Foden's a lovely, clever, play, lends the ball and has it back and looks comfortable and got good physicality now. He's growing, his body's starting to really stand up to the demands. I just thought it was a great kind of show of the level that this guy stepped up to now, Phil Foden, from a kid who was in and out of the team, and at times we weren't sure whether he's going to play, was Pep always going to play him, to really being part of their best 11 now, and on that stage can still kind of hold his own and look one of the best players on show.
Rob, there's so many attacking players at City that enjoyed that first half, enjoyed the game, but enjoyed the first half and the space that they were allowed by Real Madrid. Riyad Mahrez is another one, Rob. Riyad Mahrez, that's sneaky, lots of assists and goals. There's moments in the game where he could have scored more goals. You look at Bernardo Silva, sticks the ball in the top corner from 20 yards with a really good advantage from the referee. It's not just for... I totally agree with Foden stuff. His development under Pep, who was super careful with him at the start, is coming through now. And Jesus in confident mood as well. He got the start play through the middle, which we hadn't seen him play through the middle, Rob, for a long period of time. Foden to the left-hand side. And Mahrez to the right-hand side there. The midfield, De Bruyne, allowed to get forward. It was just a excellent attacking performance from Manchester City. It's just, it does, the defensive side of things and conceding 3 goals is like, wow. It's they're not going to change.
No.
They're just not going to change. They just need some important players back. And but I still think, even though there's a certain amount of, I don't know, uncertainty in the second leg, you still think, Rob, the better team is Man City. They have a goal start. It probably will be toe-to-toe, given the scoreline, and Real Madrid being at home. They're going to have a go at Man City. City are going to get chances. It's going to come down to who takes the chances, Rob, isn't it? And who can... Real Madrid's defensive back four, were awful.
It's
absolutely
creaky.
awful.
Yeah. It's not at the level you'd expect, but... Listen, they've got forward power, they've got a little quality in midfield, and if that guy, if they create chances for Benzema, what we do know is he will find the back of the net. So, it's a night when City will have to maybe have a little bit more attention to the defending, but with their attacking threats, you probably just favour them to do it, but not by much, mate. I think we could be in for another exciting night at the Bernabeu next week. Shall we move it on to the other semi-final, my friend? At Anfield, which was a very different feel, a very different game. We did a little bit of... we went on Twitch with our friends, Men in Blazers, didn't we? We had a 15, 20-minute little chat with those guys around the half-time and talking a little bit about the game and about things in general in football. And we all agreed in Unai Emery's... the job he's done with this group of players who were pretty much, a band of many Premier League players who either came to the end of their career here or didn't quite fit into teams here and have gone away, have come together, have got a unity, have got a structure, and have made it difficult, and have beaten Juventus and have beaten Bayern Munich, and are still in with a shot. 2-0, Rob. I've worked in this stadium, Villarreal, done a couple of games there at TV in my early TV days, and it is an atmosphere, my friend. And if the first goal goes to the team in yellow, it will get pretty exciting in that stadium.
Yeah, I can't see how they can come back and win the game, Rob. I can't see how they can come back from 2-0 down, given how crazy good this Liverpool team is. The manager will have them super focused. I mean, the game reminded me of a Premier League game, Rob. It was like a Premier League game.
Yeah.
It was an average, a lower Premier League side
like
coming in,
Liverpool v Southampton,
parking a bus.
It was Liverpool v Southampton.
Yeah. Well, less though. So Southampton might have a press. It was like Liverpool versus Burnley or Watford. Yeah. You know, sitting back behind the ball, 4-4-2, super deep. I mean, the two strikers really, really close as well. And it was a patience job from Liverpool.
Yeah.
You know, it had to be patient. Steven Gerrard, Rob, the movement. We talked about this little triangle on the right hand side before, I think, on our podcast.
Yeah.
And Steven Gerrard, and I want to go through Liverpool players, by the way, in a second, Rob. But
me and Jordan
that
Henderson.
Movement
Jordan Henderson.
Trent. Sorry, did I say? Yeah, so I meant Jordan Henderson. Yeah. So, God blimey. Not too far off the way he played as well. But Henderson's movement from right side midfield to the outside and Trent coming forward and Mo Salah rolling inside is kind of this thing that... who was it talking about? Trent Alexander-Arnold, Rob, in an interview was talking about it. And the manager, as long as somebody's in these different slots, in a triangle, if you like, at the right side, he doesn't care who it is.
Yeah.
So that's why you sometimes see Trent in the inside, you see him up front, you see Gerrard. Henderson making that lap, and that's where the first goal came from. It's like a little unique piece of this team on the right-hand side when Henderson plays that isn't half effective. And I know they got deflection and they go 1-0 up, but that's such an important goal, isn't it, against them? I know they're not going to change their game plan, Villarreal. And Liverpool, I don't know, Liverpool, Rob, always seem, we're talking to Men in Blazers on the Twitch broadcast. Klopp always seems to find a way at half-time just to change something a little bit, a little tactical tweak that sometimes we don't even notice. It's sometimes very subtle, but he'll talk about it afterwards, and you're like, well, yeah, they did. You know, he did move a little closer, or they did do something a little different. Talked about it at the Etihad, Rob, when we were at the game at half-time. Because I asked him right there, like, what did you say at half-time? Because they got caught in behind, and the second half was very, very different. So I think he maybe doesn't get the tactical kind of credit that he deserves, Jurgen Klopp. I think there's a lot of little tactical tweaks that he never talks that stuff in the interviews. He never goes into detail with that kind of stuff. He rambles on sometimes, and he gives you a little bit of that stuff, but not generally. They found a way, and Mo Salah's little run and through ball for Sadio Mane, who's a different man right now. Sadio Mane is a different player than he was 6 months ago, Rob, playing up front.
Yeah, and you're right. I think sometimes the Klopp smile and hugging thing kind of is a bit of facade of what's going on underneath. And I'll tell you what I really like about him, Rob, and it's just a little trait, again, whether it's just part of his personality. I love how he, like in those games, he runs down the tunnel as if, right, this is my 15 minutes of my work starts. I've got to get in early, he's got to get them ready. And it was interesting, the other person I heard after the game talk he said, Jordan Henderson had said to us, stay patient, we'll get the goal. He said, Klopp was saying, and our skipper was saying it. I don't remember which player it was. It might have been Robbo, actually, Andrew Robertson, but also the influence now of Jordan Henderson in his role and how important, he's lifted the trophy now, he's lifted the Premier League title, and his voice is becoming really important. So, as you say, those little tactical tweaks that aren't as obvious, and maybe people don't look at Klopp in the same way, but obviously this is a guy who can affect things, Rob. He affects the game. And that's what, the big managers do in big games.
I wanted to quickly, Rob, go through this team, because the more we see what they're doing, and of course we know they're on this potential road of winning all 4 tournaments, which would be unprecedented and probably, I mean, one of the biggest accomplishments in English football, really, by an English football team, because I mean, no one's ever done this before. Yeah. And if you go through the team, Rob, I mean, it's hard to know how this team can be bettered. Goalkeeper, outstanding, one of the world's best. 2 fullbacks. I mean, there's probably no pair of fullbacks better anywhere in the world. Van Dijk, I mean, enough said.
Yeah.
Ibrahim Konate, coming through. And by the way, looks really, really good. A monster at set pieces, a threat every time a corner goes in. Into midfield, Fabinho, I thought, was superb.
Yeah, he was
at times, Rob, the players getting away from him. He slides in. He stops so much stuff. His distribution is simple but important. He knows exactly what his role is. Thiago, we're seeing a player in that mould, one of the best in the world now. I don't care what his age is. He's in great physical shape. He gets on the ball and makes things happen. Henderson, I thought, and you're a bigger fan than Henderson than I am, right? But I thought he stepped up in this game, Rob, and was superb in there. Just stepped up in terms of attitude and drive and being a leader. And then you got the front three. I mean, Mo Salah, talked about the best player in the world right now, Luis Diaz and Sadio Mane. I mean, talk about a spectacular team in every position. Maybe it's the other centre back. You could argue there's plenty of better players out there. It's just what a good team it is, Rob. What a good team it is in balance, in drive, in quality, in everything.
And absolutely agree with the point. There isn't too many there you say or anywhere off. Everybody looks like they're bubbling around their best form, but isn't also part of this conversation what else they've got? Because before now, Rob, we've seen really good Liverpool teams or iterations of this Liverpool team, but they haven't had the depth. If Mane does get injured or somebody's form does drop, Diogo Jota comes in, Rob, and the level doesn't drop at all. In some respects, he gives you a different option. Even Divock Origi off the bench, Rob, gives you a different option that they were able to call on in the derby and get the win there. Midfield, they've got Harvey Elliott, they've got Curtis Jones, they've got other players, Naby Keita, who can come in and do certain games. We're not talking about Matip, who was had a brilliant month a month or so ago. I think he won Player of the Month. Joe Gomez has come back and shown a little bit more, if Trent needs a rest. So it's not just that 11, because you always feel like at some point somebody's form might dip, somebody might get injury. But now Liverpool can put players in who keep the same quality and the same level that they had before. And that was something they didn't have before. That was something City always used to have over Liverpool. They could rest and rotate and keep a level.
Yeah, and that goes. That of course that smacks of the recruitment, Rob.
Yeah.
And Michael Edwards, the job that he's done after moving in there, and also Jurgen Klopp, and of course the news, the fresh news from today. Jurgen Klopp has extended his contract, Rob, for 2 years, which is phenomenal news for the football club. A good friend of mine is a big Liverpool fan, and he's ecstatic about it. I mean, what he's done for this club over a period of years now is phenomenal. Every single season, apart from the first one he took over with Brendan Rodgers, they've qualified for the Champions League, and you could see progression, improvement. They got to cup finals. And of course, they didn't get over the line in those cup finals. There was a little bit of talk. I remember it very vividly about is he the man? Is he a winner? Can he? But obviously, you keep getting there, you're going to get over the line, and that's what he's done now. And he's on the brink now of something remarkably special, which is still too early to really talk about it. And if that happens, my goodness, we'll have a dedicated podcast. But how big is that, Rob? That through 2026, Jurgen Klopp's going to be there.
I mean, that's huge for the football club. For the players there, they sort of know that this guy's going to be around. He's going to keep on going, Rob. You can see that he's building a team that at some point some of those younger players are going to have more opportunities, and some of the other players will be moved out in the right way. It's great news for Liverpool. Not so great if you're Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham, Arsenal and all the rest who are trying to catch up. Because this guy has set a standard, and as you say, from the moment he walked in that football club, Rob, he's changed the attitude. He's changed one of the biggest things you can do at a football club. And whoever becomes the right man at Manchester United, and I'm sure their fans hope it's Ten Hag, is that first time I've known for years, Rob, that you don't have to talk about Liverpool's history. The Liverpool we know who won those European Cups then, who won the FA Cup and won the league. You can talk about this current team on that same level. And that's to go in a football club with such history and to be able to make it current now is a magnificent thing. And he's a very special man, Robbie. He's a special football man, who's just the perfect fit for that club and what it represents and how it wants to be in that city. You couldn't get a better guy.
So let's look ahead, Rob. Of course, one of those four things they've got to try and get is the Premier League title.
Yeah.
Let's look ahead at the weekend, of course, going head-to-head with Man City in different matches. So Saturday's games, Newcastle host Liverpool. Yeah. Coverage begins at 7 o'clock Eastern Time on USA, and Leeds host Manchester City, 12:30 Eastern Time on Big NBC. Now, these of the games where there could be a drop-off, this is it. This is the one. If you're a Liverpool fan... Oh, first off, let's say Liverpool, Rob. I mean, Newcastle United have been superb at home. So they've won the last, I think, 5 Premier League, at least 5 in the Premier League at St James's Park. What are you thinking?
Since Eddie Howe's took over, Rob, I read somewhere that his form is top 4 form. So it's like they're facing a top 4 team right now. That's how good they've been since Eddie's taken over. I think Liverpool win. And I don't say that in a blasé, easy fashion. I just look at the defence of Newcastle, dealing with the speed, rotation and movement of the Liverpool team, and maybe a Jota comes in for one of those places. He can freshen it up if he wants to. I think Liverpool win the game. And it's interesting, Liverpool are the early kick-off, Rob, so a little chance for them to get the win, get the point, jump above City, and then City play later on. But I think Liverpool win the game.
I do as well. I think that they are built now to overcome pretty much everything, and I don't think Newcastle. I know they're in great form. We were there to watch the Wolves 1-0 victory. I think Liverpool win the game. I'm more intrigued by Leeds. I'm intrigued by Leeds United versus Manchester City. Because Leeds play with some intensity. Yeah. And Man City's game, Rob, given the nature of it, kind of end-to-end, loads of open space, lots of more running, I would say, for City players because they're having to defend a lot. There was big. Where Liverpool, it was kind of like, I just think Liverpool's game, and I want to get your opinion on it, Rob, took less out of the legs of the Liverpool players than Man City's against Real Madrid, given the nature of the end-to-end stuff. Do you think so or not?
I just think Man City do what they do. I don't necessarily think that will be, for me, that's not the deciding factor. I mean, it was a day earlier. They have a little bit more rest. So slightly later kick-off. A few little things like in terms of legs. I think City win. I don't see this being the weekend that points get dropped. I've got to be honest. I mean, didn't City beat Leeds 7 earlier in the season? I know that was Bielsa time and different team.
It's different, Leeds.
It's very different. I hear what you're saying, and I saw Leeds this week. They 0-0 draw with Palace. I think we were working on the game. I was working on the game, watching that one. But no, I don't see an upset this weekend. I think they both win for me. I think they both get it done.
Yeah, I think the City's game is tricky.
Well, you think that might be a drop? You're thinking that might be a draw? Could be a draw?
I do. I think it could be. Could be. Rob, I just see Dan James' pace. I see Rafinha's pace. I see Rodrigo from midfield. I see a manager that gets them fired up. And he's already said it, by the way, Jesse Marsch, that when you play a team like that, you just got to go for it.
Yeah.
If City aren't at it and aren't going to match some of those runs and those forward runs, they could concede. I'm assuming that Kyle Walker's not going to be okay for this game. And this pace is super important for this team. Yeah. So, listen, I mean, of course, they're both going into these. I mean, they're both so good. You expect them to win. Yeah. I just think if there's going to be City drop a point, Rob, it's going to be here because after I guess the next Champions League the following weekend, I suppose. But I just think Leeds have got energy that can maybe upset them.
It's interesting. Danny Higginbottom brought our attention to. I think the last 4 games in the Champions League, the game they played after, I think 3 are league games and 1 was the FA Cup semi-final. They've not won Manchester City. They drew 0-0, drew 2-2, lost 3-2 to Liverpool in the semi-final. So there may be something in it. I'm not so sure. I just got a feeling that they'll get the job done against Leeds and find a way to get the 3 points. But again, listen, look forward to Sunday's podcast when we can look back and see if either have dropped points. Let's move on to the Premier League, my friend. We had a big game at Old Trafford. Slightly strange circumstances, I have to say. The news broke before the game that there was news initially that Ralf Rangnick, the caretaker manager at the moment, and is going into consultancy role, has been in talks with the Austrian FA, and we were led to believe by our Premier League insider, David Ornstein, who was feeding us some information from over the pond, that it looks like Manchester United are going to agree to Ralf Rangnick being allowed to be the Austrian national team manager and part-time consultancy role with Manchester United. So that news was circling around the ground. Then there was some peaceful fan protests that we've seen start to happen at Old Trafford over recent weeks. The fans obviously not happy with what the Glazers are doing and the state of the football club at the moment, and just wanting to grab the attention, the headlines. I have to say it was all done in a very peaceful and correct manner by the fans, but it just led to, Rob, a bit of a strange kind of atmosphere around Old Trafford. It was very quiet. There was a few empty seats, more empty seats at the kick-off than we saw, maybe because of the protesters outside. And the game sort of started like that, where Manchester United were a bit never quite got into the game. Chelsea dominated possession, and I think we've talked about on this podcast, Chelsea's ability to play to the last third is up there with some of the best teams in the league. But once they get into last third, they've absolutely got no punch. And it's something Thomas Tuchel, we saw him on the sidelines, he talked about after the game, is going to have to address once ownership's done, and he's going to have to work out who and if there is going to be his striking pair or partnerships or three or one behind two, because at the moment they create so many chances, Rob, and just can't put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, let's start with Chelsea, Rob. Let's start with them. There's so much. There's a few things to Man United I want to add to, but no, I mean, I just they were so much better than Man United. They were so much better. Yeah. I mean, it was embarrassing. First half was embarrassing. It wasn't even competitive in the first half. They could have scored so many goals, created so much, got into so many good situations and didn't score. I mean, the goal scoring situation. I wrote down the goals, like the Premier League goals. Mount's got 10, good number from a midfield player. Havertz 7, Pulisic 5. 4. Lukaku 5, Ziyech 4, and Werner 4. Reece James has got 5 goals. Yeah. Now, when you want to go for things that they want to go for, I mean, where's the? I mean, there's a lot of forwards there, and none of them got double figures apart from Mason Mount, who's more of a midfield player.
I looked at the same thing, so I wrote the same numbers down and saying, and then I'm looking at and looked. I said Liverpool 85 goals and Man City 80 goals, Chelsea now 68. So they're, let's say, 15 goals short of where they need to be. That's your centre forward, mate. That's a guy you buy for $100 million. You get you 15, 16, 17 goals. Yeah. Like the guy is on the other side of the pitch, and everybody tells us what he doesn't do. He's got 17 Premier League goals now. 17 Premier League goals on Chelsea gets him closer to the top 2.
And as we said before, Robbie, it's not all on the individuals here. Tuchel's the slow football. I think that was less pertinent in this game because it wasn't slow football. It was easy football because Man United was so bad. But yeah, we don't have to keep going on about it, Rob, because it's the same thing. Everything else at Chelsea is generally okay. They got some concerns. Antonio Rudiger's going to leave the football club, which is a hammer blow. One of the best defenders around in the world, I'd say right now. Rudiger, with his determination, he's safe enough on the ball. He's a leader of men. He looks like he's going to lead potentially to Real Madrid. Christensen's going as well. The ownership thing, I think Rob is going to get sorted in the next few weeks. I think it's going to be decided who's going to be the new owners of the football club. So,
just going back on that Chelsea thing though, mate, and I just want to kind of, I think we've touched on this before, and I've talked about it in a way that I get that, you know, Havertz and Werner and these people, and I know sometimes you know we could argue whether it's the players not delivering or the coach, but they lack killer, Rob. They lack killer in the penalty box. Havertz has too many chances where he has a shot, he has a header straight at the goalkeeper, and it's a bit of he's no killer, mate. You know, and I'm talking about putting your foot over the top, but you know, you give Mo Salah those chances, you give Harry Kane those chances. You give some of those the Man City midfield players those chances. These are killer instincts.
It's Ronaldo, isn't it, Rob? Ronaldo.
Yeah, he's killer.
Yeah.
You know, and they're too nice in that attacking third. You've got to get a bit of killer instinct and you know, punch things home. The head of their habits has when Reece James put a beautiful ball in just before half-time, mate. I mean, any way you put your neck through that ball and head it, it's in the back of the net. He kind of hits it at the goalkeeper. It kind of sums up, you know, where Chelsea are.
Yeah, and maybe, Rob, if the ownership thing is sorted, and if Lukaku feels like he wants to move on, maybe they can do some deals. It's just trying to find, I don't know, trying to find that killer instinct striker for the Premier League is of course not easy, but we'll see what they do. Just back on United, Rob, and I watched the broadcast today, and you and Danny were very strong on Ralf Rangnick with this Ralf Rangnick situation. Yeah. I would just say the consultancy role that he's got for a couple of years. Yeah. Who knows what that's going to be? Who? I mean, that might be anything from. Well, a consultant is not a full-time guy. No. He's not going to be director of football. He's not going to be assistant director of football. He's not going to be technical director. Yeah. He's not sporting director. He's just, they've got this loose veil of consultant. So I'm not surprised. I'm not angry. I don't think it's like that. He's going to be consulted on certain decisions, and I mean, is that all he's going to do? Wait on the end of a telephone for United? For John Murcher and the directors and stuff to call him up. I don't feel as strongly as you do about him going off doing the Austrian national team job, because quite honestly, mate, I just don't think the United are going to use him much. They've got their director of football, they've got their technical director in Darren Fletcher, they're going to hire a new person in that department as well. Their recruitment's kind of set. Ten Hag will have a big say in the recruitment, as Ralf Rangnick said he will be involved in those decisions. So I don't think, I mean, he did say Ralf Rangnick that I could be involved in as well. I just don't think Man United have got big plans to use Ralf Rangnick going forward. So why not take a national team job where he potentially can do both?
Absolutely, and I have no problem with him doing that if that's what they want to do. My point comes from, and it's about opinion, my point comes from where Manchester United are right now. There's a lack of football people at that football club. From the moment Sir Alex Ferguson left that football club, you have got somebody steeped in European football who understands structures. I'm not talking about Ralf Rangnick coaching the players and that. Ten Hag's going to come in and do that. Ralf Rangnick should be part of, but people say part-time. Manchester United have got a full-time problem at the moment, and they need full-time people to deal with it. Part of like the scouting network, the director of football appointing the right person, having football people around so we know what's going on. You can walk in a football club, Rob, and if you've not been in that industry like other people can, you can sense, sometimes you sense something that other people wouldn't get, that wouldn't see, because you've been in football, we've been in football, people have been in football a long time, and you know some things are happening. Manchester, for me, my issue is Manchester United are almost saying, well, we won't worry with all that you've got. We'll have a bit of it when we need you on the phone and the consulting. That's fine. Yeah. That's fine if that's what they want to do. In my opinion, I wouldn't let that go out the building at this stage where we're at in the rebuild. I would want to drag every inch I could out of him. I would want him supporting the manager. I want him supporting John Murter. I want him supporting the scouting network. I want him around my football club to make sure things are working in the correct manner. That's the reason why I'm unhappy for Manchester United to allow him to say, well, you know what, take 50% or 60% of your attention on the Austrian FA and we'll have you 20 or 30% when we need you on a phone call. That's where I'm disappointed, because I think part of Manchester United's biggest problem is not enough football people in the building.
Well, they listen, Rob, I agree, and we've spoke that I wouldn't have mind seeing Ralf Rangnick as director of football, bring in Ten Hag, they work together, there's an adult. I couldn't agree more with everything that you're saying, Rob, but I think, isn't it pretty clear that they are trusting their own structure? John Murter is he's an inexperienced director of football. But I had a chat with a friend of mine who said, well, hang on a minute. Like, if you go back at Liverpool, Damien Comolli was an experienced director of football, left the club, Michael Edwards, a young, inexperienced director of football, took over and did a phenomenal job. Manchester United, I believe, think that in John Murtagh, they can have their very own special director of football, and they don't want to go down the road of a Ralf Rangnick. Now, I'm not. And I think that's an incredible gamble, given the size of this club and given where they are right now with this squad and what it needs, that they're gonna hand the keys to a recruitment department, and John Murtagh, who again is stepped up into this role over the last kind of 18 months or so. I think, Rob, about a year ago he got appointed this, and now with a new coach as well. So I'm on the same page as you, Rob, but I'm resound to like, well, they're not going to want him. It hasn't been great, which I said at the very start. If the football didn't go well, they would not be interested in Ralf Rangnick to help them in the future, and that's where it's at. So I get where we're differing, Rob, is that I'm not surprised that they're going to trust their own Murtagh, Fletcher, their own people, and not going to go and hand the keys in some ways over to somebody like Ralf Rangnick. And we're agreed that, hang on a minute, he's kind of done this before at the RB clubs and at Hoffenheim, taken these clubs from nothing to really pretty good football clubs. So that's I'm not surprised, and you still are, that he's not in a full-time position. That's our difference.
Yeah, my final word on this, and again, listen, I value your opinion and your points, is this: they aren't mutually exclusive. You don't have to have one or the other. You can have John Murtagh, you can have Dan Fletcher, you can have all these guys. We can still have Ralf Rangnick as somebody who they can lean on as well, as being part of that setup. Somebody who knows, who's got an agent somewhere. Somebody who knows there's a contract clause in somewhere. Someone who does all that stuff, Rob. The nuance in the intel that the big clubs have. That Liverpool get Luis Diaz, and that Man City buying the players they want, and that Chelsea do great business. And Manchester United miss out. I just feel, get football people in the building to give you a chance.
Yeah, well, Richard Arnold is the CEO, Robbie Earle. Yeah. Richard Arnold, Ed Woodward before, and this is decisions that's the decisions at this football club at director level. That's why people are protesting outside. That's why you're seeing the product on the field of play right now, and that's why you're seeing the team underperforming. So. You make a valid point. Why not have him as well there as part of a transfer kind of committee together to try and help the club? But it looks like he's not going to be. Anyway, so
any thoughts?
Yeah, so that's kind of the main thing.
Two thoughts on Cristiano Ronaldo, my friend. 17 Premier League goals. I know we work with a good friend of ours who was giving us an over and under. I think was 16. And I think we said he'll get more than that. So I think we were in the money on 17. But another day, mate, another goal. I feel every time he smashes the ball in the back of the net, another reason why you have to try and include him in what the part of the future should look like. It'd be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how Ten Hag does that. Is he part of things knowing that he's going to be in and out of the team, which maybe he won't like? Is he part of something that the manager starts to work with him and find a way to build a team that can accommodate somebody like Ronaldo? Still, the reliance on him, mate, is so high at this football club. He's just a difference maker to him.
Yeah, I mean, and not even the goal. The goal, I mean, nothing surprised you with him at the moment in terms of scoring goals. Nothing surprised you. His touch and he sort of stabbed his volley, so it wasn't going to go over the bar. He's just a quality finisher like that. But everything else, I think you picked out some. I mean, he ran around. Yeah. He pressed more than anybody else. Yeah. I thought Man United in the first half, Rob, I thought it was a sad. I mean, I think I said this last time. It was sad watching Manchester United walk around at Old Trafford, and Chelsea. I mean, they were so comfortable. They created so many chances. It was like, wow, how are they not like a couple of goals up? I thought the first half was I think I'd have to say it, rock bottom for me. First half against Chelsea in this game, where certain players, and I'll mention a couple that I'm sure we've talked about before, were literally walking without possession. Bruno Fernandes, who odd moments will have a little run out, and is similar like this, and Marcus Rashford. Now, Rashford is an incredible human being, a super talented footballer, but he is not of the mental toughness to be in this situation, to not help his fullback, to not run and to work hard and to close down like Ronaldo. Ronaldo is such a complete footballer. Ronaldo sensing that game, Rob, that wow, this is and he tried to make things happen and run and close down when nobody else did. I just thought it was like, wow, this is a sad reflection of the football club right now. Second half, a little bit better. They had a little bit more football. But I just think the players, and there's a ton injured right now, they can't wait for the season to finish. And the new guy come in. It's just, I mean, I enjoyed Graham Lasso's reaction afterwards, actually, Rob. A really thoughtful interview about why he didn't think Ronaldo's going to be right for the club going forward. And I get that, and everybody's got, and he made a really good argument there. I happen to disagree. I think that Ronaldo should be part of the next season. He won't, of course, be long-term part of it. But as a transition happens, you know, with how he's played and how he's scored, and I still think you have to have him involved. But other than him, Rob, you know what? I'm almost losing interest in watching United because I don't see any players out there that have a great interest in playing. And it's so much that to be frustrated about. The suffering Man United fans watching that first half must have been like, wow, we're so far away.
It was so quiet, mate. You know, we were listening to the sound and we're getting a word from Earle and Graham, as you say, were out there, and it was just a really quiet night, almost like an awakening to where this football club are at the moment and how far they've got to go. But listen, they'll keep going on. They got a point till the end, till the end of the season, and then we'll see when Ten Hag comes in, what changes, who stays, who's part of plans going forward, and who's going to be leaving the football club. Some big decisions to make there for United over coming weeks, and this summer is a big summer for the team. Listen, mate, we'll wrap things up with a couple of Europa League results. West Ham 1, Frankfurt 2. Disappointed for the Hammers in the end. They went 1-0 down after a couple of minutes. Had a quick eye on this game, then got back into the game. Michael Antonio then conceded in the second half. So difficult second leg for them to face next week in Frankfurt. And in the Europa Conference League, it was Brendan Rodgers versus Jose Mourinho. Rodgers has started as a youth team coach at Chelsea back in the day under Mourinho. Leicester 1, Roma 1. Roma went 1-0 up. Leicester come back into that game, so they'll have to go to Rome and get the job done there against Jose's team. But not great days in the Europa competitions for the Premier League clubs. Okay, mate, listen, we're going to wrap this up on our midweek podcast, where Manchester United again relied on Ronaldo to earn a point against Chelsea. Both Manchester City and Liverpool still have a bit of work to do if we're going to get an English Champions League final in Paris in May. We'll be back on Sunday, May the 1st, as we'll be back on match week 35. It's the case with will either of the top two drop points, and it's a day when Frank's Everton goes up against his old team Chelsea as they try and kick the Toffees in the Premier League. But for now, I'm Earle. He's Mustoe, together with the two Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe, stay healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series, and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches, and much more.